Hello, my name's Claire and today we're going to be making pumpkin hangers. So here's one I did earlier. Beautiful little delicate hanger for you to pop round your home. A nice alternative to normal pumpkins, or you can do both. Okay, so what you're going to need today is orange paper, green paper or card, scissors, string for hanging, and I'm using a stapler because it's so much easier and faster, but you can use tape or glue. Okie dokie, so we're going to start by taking the orange card for our pumpkin and cutting it. So I've gone with orange and green because they're classic pumpkin colours, but you can use any colours you want. You could make a rainbow pumpkin or a squash, like a green squash or a purple squash, whatever you fancy. So I'm going to start by cutting the orange paper long ways. My paper is quite big, but don't worry if yours is smaller, it just means that your pumpkin is going to be a bit smaller. Now this orange paper is quite flimsy, so it'll hold in a different way to card. Card might be better in many ways because it'll hold a lot firmer, but paper's absolutely fine. Or if you haven't got coloured paper but you've got white paper, you could always use the white paper but then paint it or colour it in with pretty patterns and textures. So we're going to cut quite a few of these out. I probably won't use them all, but at least I've got spares. And you want to make these quite thick. They don't all have to be the same size, but just that they're a decent thickness, at least an inch thick. Here's some spares that I've got from earlier. Okie dokie. So as you can see from the one I made earlier, we've got a central piece of paper or card and then 3 folded pieces either side of that central piece. So we're going to start by making this piece first and we're going to work around it. So I'm going to pick this piece, which is actually shorter than my other pieces. Hold this in place and I'm literally just going to add on 1, 2, 3 pieces to that side. So here's my central piece. Then I've got 1, 2, 3 to that side. And on my other side, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So I've got 7 pieces in total, all together in a neat bit at the top. And I'm quite simply going to take my stapler and where they all meet at the top, try and make it as neat as possible. I'm just going to staple them in place to hold it. So they're not going anywhere now, they're stuck in place. And this is when we can start to build our pumpkin. Okie dokie. So, let me turn this round. There's a central piece, smaller than all the others. And they're all already a little bit bent here, so I'm just going to bend them so they're a little bit straighter. I'm going to take my first piece from this side. I'm going to curve it like that so it meets my middle piece. I'm not going to curve this one too much because the further it gets out, the more we want it to curve. So then I'm going to take my second piece and meet it with my hand here where I hold it. And you can see it's all starting to come together. The bigger you want your pumpkin, the further down you hold it. So 1, 2, and then I want this to be the biggest curve out. Like that. And you can neaten them up a bit. Twist them round before we staple it again. And you can arch the paper, fold it a bit so that it curves the way you want it to. So when you're holding it, this side will then be like that. And I'm going to staple where I'm pointing here so that it holds it there. So, I get my stapler, I come in and kapow it. Now, without holding it, I've got one side of my pumpkin ready to rumble. If you aren't using a stapler, you could tape it down or you can glue it with like a Pritt stick would be much better and speedier. If you're using wet glue, you might have to hold it for a little while, but it'll work just as well. It might just take a bit more patience. So, time for the other side of the pumpkin. Here we go. Pop that there. Right, so as you can see, we've got one side and we're going to do the exact same for the other side. Arch our paper round. So, layer 1. Now arch this one round. And if you want to wiggle it to like make it more malleable so that it goes where you want to, that's a good idea. Card will be good for that because card is quite malleable. So there's layer 1, make it a bit more curved, bring it up a bit more, and layer 2, to meet it. It is a very fiddly job this, but I feel like it's very worth it at the end to have really pretty pumpkins. There's layer 2. And layer 3, you want this to be the biggest curve. So as you can see here, I've not stapled it yet, but there it is. And where I'm holding it in place, you can see to get the curve, these different papers are all different lengths. So this is my biggest curve on the outside, which is the shorter length here. The second biggest one is this one, a bit further down if I can grab it. And then the little curve inside there is this longer one. So the shorter your paper is at the end where you're holding it, the bigger the loop will be. And you can really exaggerate those loops, so it's a really curvy pumpkin. But I think I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to staple that where it is. I quite like as well that one side is slightly bigger than the other because pumpkins aren't always perfect and they're supposed to look a bit spooky and gnarly. So I'm going to staple that there and hands free, pumpkins ready. So I'm just going to neaten this up and add some leaves to it. So with my scissors, with this end bit that I'm not using anymore, I'm just going to go straight in above my staple and chop it off. That's a much neater pumpkin already. It's all coming together and it can hang both ways just as beautifully. But I actually think I quite like that way because it's got like the lump bit there. Okay, so what we're going to do is now add some leaves. So, some leaves even. So, I've got this lovely rich green paper. It's more like card, this actually. You can use, like I said earlier, any colour you want, but I quite fancied adding some classical leaves. So I'm going to cut some really pretty leaf shapes out of here. One leaf, two leaf, and out of my scraps, waste not, want not, I'll make another leaf out of this one. There we go, I've got 3 leaves there. Okie dokie. So I said I wanted it that way, so I'm going to take one of my leaves, and at the top of my pumpkin I'm going to pop a leaf on, and on the other side I'm going to pop another leaf, maybe the other way around. Might have it poking out the side like that. Yeah, I'll do that. And then on this side, to cover up my orange a bit, I'll move that over, and then to cover even more orange, I'm going to pop this one here. So I'm holding them with my hand at the moment, but I'm going to staple it into place. So once you're happy with where they're placed, I'm going to take our stapler again, or your glue, or your tape, and we're going to sturdy it into place. So that is done with 3 staples and 2 coloured pieces of paper. How amazing is that? I just think it's so lovely. So if you want to hang these around your house or in your bedroom, or you could put it in your porch, you'll want some string. So I've got this lovely green string to match my leaves. I'm going to cut a generous amount. And quite simply, I'm going to take the middle of my pumpkin where my hand's gone through. I'm going to put my string straight through the middle like that. I'm going to tie it at the end, neaten it into place a bit, and that is a very lovely pumpkin. If you've enjoyed making spooky crafts with us today, we would love to see your creations. So please tag any photographs online at the Old Courts #15minute-makes. Thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed watching the Old Courts live and you'd like to make a donation to support the work we do, please head over to www.theoldcourts.com/donate. This year has been incredibly difficult for most arts organisations, and we're no different. But with a huge effort and support from you and from our funders, we've managed to secure our organisation and the jobs of every staff member. We've also provided 343 artists with paid work for the Old Courts Live. And our volunteers have delivered over 700 food parcels and made 600 calls to isolated local residents. But the battle isn't over yet. We're currently closed to the public with 0 income, and we don't know how long this closure is going to last. If you can help by making a donation, then you're helping to secure your arts centre. We're hoping to be